Block, we'll go ahead and call the Planning, Programming, and Zoning Commission meeting to order. First item on the agenda is approval of today's agenda, and we do have a recommendation to combine A1 with B1, and then items A2, oh wait, excuse me, A1,
No,
D1,
A2.
and then A2 and B1.
A2, B1,
All right.
A1, and D1.
Any objections to that? Okay. Any other revisions to the agenda? If not, do we have a motion to approve?
Motion. Second, Trost.
Okay, all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Next, we'll have approval of the minutes of the regular meeting on June 14th. Any discussion or revisions?
This is Trost. I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second, Schoberg.
I'll second it, Sisson.
All those in favor state aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, minutes approved. Next, we'll have the financial report for May 2022.
This is Schrader with staff. So this financial report would put us at 91% of the fiscal year. Looking down through the revenue side, we're looking pretty good. There's a few spots below 91, but several spots well above 91%. So revenue is looking good, and looking down through the revenue side, or excuse me, the expense side. There's a few over 100% already, but there's some well under. So overall, we are looking in pretty good shape.
Any additional questions? Okay, if not, do we have a motion to receive and place that on file?
So moved, Schoberg.
Second?
Second, Leipzig.
All those in favor state aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Next item on the agenda are oral presentations. This is an opportunity for anyone here who is here to speak on a non-agenda item, so something that's not already on the agenda. Is there anyone in the chambers? Okay, and anyone on the call? Okay, so we will go on to new business. Okay, the time is 4:03 p.m. and a hearing is scheduled at this time for a request by Hawkeye Community College for a site plan amendment to the R1 RP Planned Residence District to allow for the construction of five new one-story single-family homes at Williston Field located east of 1202 West 7th Street. This is on pages 10 through 25 of the packet. At this time, we should receive and place on file a statement of verification signed by Patty McGee stating, I, Patty McGee, do hereby certify that a copy of the attached letter, overview map, aerial map, notice map, site plan, pictures were mailed to individuals on the attached list on June 23rd, 2022. I have a motion to receive and place this notice on file.
So moved, Trost.
So moved. Second, Tricia. Sisson.
All those in favor, state aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, then we will move on to the staff report for this agenda item, and then D1 as well.
This Thorn Office staff, the applicants requesting a site plan amendment to the planned district to construct 5 single-family homes. The request will not appear to have a negative impact on the neighborhood, as it will add 5 single-family homes to the neighborhood made up of other single-family homes. The proposed site plan will not have a negative impact on traffic conditions in the area. The homes will have frontage along 7th Street, which is classified as a local street. A sidewalk is located on the west side of 7th Street, the north side of Pleasant Street, and the north and south sides of Williston Avenue. Are no sidewalks located along Allen Street. New sidewalks would be required along the lots once the homes are developed. The area is zoned R1 RP Planned Residence District. It's zoned as such since it was rezoned from R2 1 and 2 Family Residence District on April 4th, 2011. Surrounding land use and zoning. To the north is residential zoned R3 Multiple Residence District. To the south, residential zoned R2 1 and 2 Family Residence District. To the east is residential multifamily zoned R3 Multiple Residence District and R4 Multiple Residence District. And to the west is residential and Irving Elementary School zoned as R2 1 and 2 Family Residence District. Homes in the area were built between 1906 and 2022.
1906.
The eastern portion of the property is located in the Dry Run Creek flood hazard area as indicated Federal Insurance Administrative Flood Insurance Rate Map 1901 CO 188F dated July 18, 2011. And the site plan shows that a water detention pond located in this area, and there will be no homes in this section. The property was previously owned by the city of Waterloo, and before that, Waterloo Community Schools, listed as open space. Miller Park is located 1 block to the southwest. The applicant is requesting a site plan amendment to build 5 single-family homes at Williston Field. The school district used it as a field for practice and then sold it to the city when the school district no longer needed the field. The property has been rezoned from R2 1 and 2 Family Residence District to R1 RP Planned Residence District on April 4th, 2011, to ensure that the lots were properly developed and would blend into the existing community. A development agreement was signed with a developer for development of the lots. The preliminary and final plats were approved in January 2014. On December 14th, 2014, the developer came before the Planning, Programming, and Zoning Commission to request to change the deed of dedication to allow for construction of ranch houses as opposed to 1.5-story buildings plus other changes. However, the Planning, Programming, and Zoning Commission recommended denial of the request, and the developer withdrew the request before being presented to City Council. The previous developer was not able to develop lots in the city and then the lots went into foreclosure and are now owned by Hawkeye Community College. Hawkeye is proposing to develop the lots and submit the building plans. This shows homes that will match the neighborhood, including front porches, but they will be 1-story homes. The homes are designed with taller roofs and dormer windows to give them appearance of 1.5-story homes, which appear to fit the general character of the neighborhood. An amendment to the deed of dedication will also be required to for the 1-story homes and also for the detention pond. The City Council approved the final plat of Williston Field Addition with Resolution 2014-046 on January 21st, 2014. During tech review, Leisure Services asked the homeowners to be responsible for maintaining detention basin, which they will be under a homeowners association. Therefore, staff recommends the request by Hawkeye Community College for a site plan amendment to the R1 RP Planned Residence District to allow for construction of 5 new 1-story single-family homes at Wilson Field located east of 1202 West 7th Street be approved for the following reasons. The site in question would appear to provide sufficient space to meet all the required regulations, including setbacks, drainage, landscaping, screening, etc. All necessary utilities already serve the proposed site plan amendment area with some extensions needed. The site plan amendment area is a planned district to allow for orderly development of land, ensure the citizenry and City of Waterloo that development will occur as planned and approved, subject to the following conditions: that the final site plan will meet all applicable city codes, regulations, etc., including but not limited parking, landscaping, screening, drainage, etc. The sidewalks be installed along street frontages within the development. Any significant changes to the plan would need a return for another site plan amendment. An encroachment agreement will need to be sent through the Planning Commission and to cover the detention basin, and that will be in city-owned right-of-way, and deed of dedication is updated. And for D1, which is the encroachment agreement, as mentioned. The applicant is requesting an encroachment agreement to allow for a detention pond to extend 10 feet into city-owned right-of-way of Allen Street. The line in question was formerly part of Wilson Field, but was dedicated to city right-of-way in order to expand the right-of-way at Allen Street to cover the entire road and the dry run creek located underneath the road. The engineering department has reviewed the request, has no concerns. Therefore, staff recommends that the request for Hawkeye Community College for an encroachment agreement to the R1 RP Plan Residence District to allow for construction of 5 new single-family homes at Wilson Field located east of 1202 West 7th Street be approved for the following reasons. The site in question would appear to have sufficient space to meet all required regulations. All necessary utilities are reserved, subject to the following conditions: that a signed and executed encroachment agreement.
Any initial questions by the commissioners?
Yes, this is Commissioner Lystico. When we mentioned, when the nearest public open space was mentioned, it said Miller Park is located 1 block to the southwest. That'd be about 1 mile at Miller Park, but Leavitt Park is 1 block to the east.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I have some questions.
Yes, this is Commissioner Ewing. Can you hear me, President?
Yes, we can.
Hawkeye Community College.
Can you repeat
Hawkeye Community College wants to build houses.
Yeah. There's a representative here from Hawkeye. He can explain it, but they've already been building houses. Is it 4 so far? Yeah, 4 so far, including 1 just a half a block from this site, which pictures of that home are in the packet.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question about the HOA. So what exactly do you anticipate the expenses for the detention pond actually being, and how will they set a fee that they have to collect from those homeowners?
That would probably be a better question for the applicant.
Hello, Craig Clark, Hawkeye Community College. So what we're planning on, this really, a pond probably isn't the best name for it because it actually isn't a hold no water. So it's more a detention basin. So in the middle, it'll be about 18 inches deep, 400 feet long. So it'll basically just hold water for hopefully a 24-hour to 48-hour period and then drain out. So what I think the attorney, what they're saying is we would have like a $1 fee a year to make everything legal, and then they would have to meet and do all the stuff required by an HOA, but there will be no maintenance of this. They'll all be mowed by each individual person and taken care of. There should really be nothing except where it ties into the inlet that would be any sort of issue, I guess.
So with you will actually have a intake, like a,
So
do a time drain basically out?
Yeah, we'll have a drain tile down the middle, the 400 feet long, just to help with the saturation, drain out, and then there will be an intake into a back of a manhole about, I don't know, 3/4 of the way down of the property.
So essentially, sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I mean, and maybe that's not a question for you guys. It feels like, because I'm guessing you were told you needed to do an HOA, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's a question for us or what, but it feels like to collect $1 a year in theory from all these residents, and then what year down the road is there going to be some maintenance that's going to be required on this thing? It just feels, I don't know. It just feels like unnecessary for the homeowners to have to manage themselves and do all this HOA and all this kind of stuff for something that's really not going to, it's not really, I don't think the design of an HOA is to deal with something like this where there's really no ongoing expense at all for this detention pond. It's like maybe once every 3 decades or something, there may be something that happens. It just doesn't seem to be the most prudent way to handle an infill development like this, in my opinion. But we dealt with an issue like that too, and we don't have an HOA. So I'm just kind of curious if maybe there's a different route we could go and recommend to help the buyers, to help the homeowners, make it easier.
I think Jamie was maybe getting that. I would agree 100% with you, so
Thank
I'm
you.
okay
Yeah,
either way.
I figured.
Jamie Knutson, city engineer, we require, let me start with this. Our ordinance, our stormwater ordinance requires the property owners that are putting water into this detention basin to maintain it, okay? If they do not, we can come in as the city, come in and force them to do the work, to clean it up, whatever maintenance needs to be done. We can force that, or the city can come in and do it and assess it to the individual property owners that are benefiting from this. What we have found in the past is that an HOA, and this is whether it's residential, commercial, doesn't matter, because we have them all over the city that are both residential and commercial. We have HOAs that require all of them to be responsible for this maintenance. How the HOA decides to charge for that, or how much they want to charge, that is up to them ultimately as the HOA. But at some point, they will want to have a fund there so that they can come back and clean things out. The drain tile gets crushed and they have to fix the drain tile. The outlet from the basin gets plugged into the city storm sewer, and they're going to have to hire somebody to come out and clean that. We have to, as the city, have a primary point of contact for all of these folks that are putting water into this basin. And that's where we have decided that it's an HOA is probably the best way to go. It can be any sort of legal document. It doesn't necessarily care to the city, but what has to happen is all of these folks that are contributing to it have to be on the hook for any future maintenance costs. Now, in your case, when we did yours, we weren't requiring that. Mm-hmm. And that's something that we've started to do, probably 4 or 5 years ago, that we started looking at this, because we realized that without some sort of legal instrument to make sure that all of the benefiting properties are on the hook for any future maintenance costs, it really got down to who do we go after? Mm-hmm. And our ordinance is written in such a way, even without an HOA in your particular case, at your location over there where you built, the ordinance is written in such a way that we can go after all of the individual property owners that contribute to it. But again, it's easier for the city to have one point of contact for these maintenance issues in the future.
What do you actually think is going to be the necessary maintenance, and when would that actually happen?
Right now, the city has hired or allowed me to hire a second stormwater person so that we can start doing detention basin inspections. We've divided the city up into areas, and we are going through now. We have sent out about between 45 and 50 letters to different homeowners, commercial developments, in this particular area that we're working in, requiring them to come in and do maintenance on their basins. Some of these have not had any maintenance since the 80s when they were installed. Obviously, there's a lot more cost for those folks, but there are ones that are a couple years old that have had trees growing up in them because it's wet. They've had large amounts of willow trees come up at 4th and Trent Lane. There's a couple up there that aren't very old that we've had to go after them to clean out the trees and do that sort of thing. So it's not, as long as the folks keep it mowed, they really shouldn't have much in the way of maintenance long-term, but you just never know, you know.
I mean, that's the only struggle I have is like, if you're trying to throw a dart at a moving target that is really unknown at this point as to what's an even reasonable amount of money that an owner today may not be the owner in 5 or 10 years when someone actually has to do some maintenance on this. So are they going to actually have to maintain a checking account somewhere to collect fees, and who's going to have to manage that? And it seems like a whole lot of work for 5 people when you're talking about something that might not be an issue for 20 or 30 years. Is it not possible that they could do some kind of special assessment like the sidewalks or what have you instead, and just allocate the cost equally amongst the 5 owners, and they just know that going in, that you live with a detention pond, and you may have an assessment like that down the road if there's maintenance required.
But the city doesn't want to do that. We don't want to do the come in and do the
But
maintenance.
you want the development done. It's
We
advantageous
want
of the development
folks
to get
that are
completed.
living in that community to go in and do it.
But it's an infill. It's an infill lot.
Correct. And this
I mean,
is
it's
no
not like
different.
someone's creating new roads and all that kind of stuff outside of town. This is infill, and it's advantageous to the city to have people develop this land.
Correct. But that's the ordinance that we are working under right now. The way my stormwater ordinance is written. Again, it doesn't have to be an HOA. It just has to be a legal document consigning all 4 or all 5 of these homes to being on the hook for any future maintenance costs. Again, they could choose to do 0 for the HOA and charge 0 for that. And 5 years down the road, if there comes in and we come in and tell them they need to fix this or that, and it's $10,000, each of them is going to have to come up with $2,000 out of their pocket. The idea of an HOA is that they can put a small amount away each month or each year rather than having to come up with that large amount all at once.
Is it possible instead to have a private easement agreement? I mean, again, I know you don't have the owners lined up now, and so that would fall to when the developer gets to a point where they're selling those lots, but could they then draft an easement agreement amongst the owners at that time that runs with the land, that it's recorded to deal with this? Because I agree with Commissioner Parrish that this seems a little bit different than another HOA that might be in charge of, plowing roads, landscaping and other, and I have seen in terms of HOAs are only as good as they function. So the idea is a good idea, but if that owner isn't the same, if your point person who was the HOA point person is no longer there, or they weren't keeping an accounting of that checking account, and I know the ordinance is the bigger issue, so I'm just posing this as a comment, but would that be a possibility?
And I understand what you're asking for. I mean, the Audubon Heights, anything out in Audubon, any new subdivisions, they have an HOA for their detention basins. Doesn't matter. Trent Lane up there off of 4th, that's a private street. They have maintenance, they have HOAs for that stuff.
But they have to pay bills on a regular basis, right?
I have no idea. That's not up to the city to check on the HOA to see that it's functioning properly.
But you don't provide, is there utilities that you guys don't cover the cost of, or for lighting and things like that? Is there snow removal that they have to handle on their own?
If it's a private street, then yes, they would.
Yeah.
The city is paying, that's public sewer up there and it's public water.
Yeah.
Up there. I would assume there's probably or public garbage, but I don't know that for sure.
I mean, I would not want to purchase a home in an area where I'm going to have to put an undefined amount of money into a savings account that one of my neighbors may or may not manage well. And then I may or may not move and get some of that money back. Or, I mean, I'm not going to if there's no ongoing expenses, why would you put in money into a fund that you may not receive any benefit from?
And we're not saying that you have to put any funding in it. It could be 0. We are not requiring the home HOA to put anything in there. All we want is the legal document that says that these 5 homeowners in this subdivision are going to be responsible for the maintenance and any future costs for this detention basin.
This is Schrader with staff, and to elaborate further, the chair posed the suggestion of just utilizing an easement. To my knowledge, an easement would provide for a detention to be able to be there, to be maintained, for access to maintain it. But an easement, to my knowledge, wouldn't address cost of maintenance and put people on the hook.
It could, but that would be something that I think that the attorney working with the developer could explore with the private owners at that point, because you can have an agreement where it says, yes, this is the location, these are the current owners, this runs with the land, and if there is maintenance, it would be divided 4 or 5 ways.
And we have that on several commercial properties. Generally speaking, an HOA is the quickest, easiest way for the attorneys and the developers to go for a residential subdivision.
But you
That's
don't
why they
require
do
that.
it. We don't require it,
Just
but
has
that's
to be
usually the
something.
quickest, easiest way to go. If they want to come up with their own legal documents, they are certainly welcome to, that commits all 5 of these homes to future maintenance. That's okay. That's acceptable.
In which case, then there would not need to be an HOA and any money going in.
And again, the HOA doesn't have to charge anything. It's the same document.
This is Commissioner Trost, real quick question. I completely agree with what Ms. Parrish and the chairperson is saying as far as trying to simplify it for the future homeowners in the city and everybody involved, not having some kind of HOA they have to maintain. I guess the question I have is, whatever that vehicle is that achieves that, I don't think it's mentioned in these documents that we're reviewing right now. I think we asked it out of curiosity and maybe trying to find a way to help homeowners and cities and developers find an easier means to develop an agreement in maintaining something. But correct me if I'm wrong, I think what's being proposed here as far as what we're reviewing as a commission doesn't contain any reference to HOAs or
Well,
agreements
he
or.
mentioned it in his report.
Well, I know, he did mention in the
Yes,
report?
That's what,
Typically in the deed of,
piqued my
in the deed of
interest about it.
dedication,
Okay.
that's where it's determined
Yeah.
where the HOA is set up in the deed of dedication.
Okay.
And we haven't seen that to my knowledge yet.
Will that come back before this group?
No, that gets approved through staff, at the staff level.
But I think we can, I mean, so those are our suggestions or something that, we recommend to, possibly consider. I think Commissioner Trost is saying, yet we can still move forward with reviewing what's requested right now. And then, note that that is something that we want to put forth as something to consider for the future. Because it is a little bit of a unique situation for this particular development.
Yeah, usually, like I said, usually there's it's a legal document for the commercial side. Usually it's an HOA on the residential side.
Yeah,
It
I
can be
just wanna
something
make sure.
different.
Yeah,
That's
if
completely
we
fine.
approve this today, we're not forcing them to create an HOA.
It sounds like what,
That'll be written into the deed, however Hawkeye decides to write the deed and come back through the review process. If
This
they,
is Schrader with staff. This area was platted back in 2013-14 with a deed of dedication.
was there one already? Okay.
Yeah, so I believe they're talking about amending that to address the stormwater, but yeah, that would, again, that would not need to come back before the commission as long as
Correct.
it meets the code requirements. It would be able to be amended.
Yep.
did you have anything additional you wanted to add? Okay. Were there any additional questions for, sorry, I forgot his name, for the applicant?
I'd say one quick question. Just for the public to understand, if I could ask a real quick question about, I'm assuming, maybe I shouldn't assume, maybe you could explain why Hawkeye Development isn't involved, or Hawkeye Community College, not development, is involved with the development of these homes.
Okay. So I did introduce myself probably totally. My name's Craig Clark, and I'm with Sustainable Construction and Design Instructor. So that's what I do at Hawkeye.
Okay.
We have a program, which is a 2-year associate's degree for sustainable design and construction. So we have been building houses for the last 4 years. We did 3 on Newell with a partnership with the city of Waterloo and 1 at 514 Johnson. And now we're going to build 5 houses right across the street, basically, from our last one, and they are going to be 5 net zero homes. So they'll have solar panels on them, and they will produce as much energy as they use. So these people have 0 utility bill at each month.
And this is something that students,
And these are our
part of the
students
degree
do
there.
build the whole thing. They start at the foundation and we go all the way up. So it does take us a long time to build a house because our students coming in, it's a 2-year program. So they start the first week after their OSHA safety, they're on the job site and they put in the footings. And then when they graduate, the house is sold. So it does take them 2 years to build a full house.
and you've trained people in the community and a new trade skill.
Correct. So we have 20 first year and 20 second year students every year.
Thanks, Craig.
Yep.
Anyone else on the call or by Zoom who is here to speak on this agenda item? Okay. Anyone else in the chambers here to speak on this agenda item? Okay, I'll have you come up. Please introduce yourself, give your name, and state your address.
My name is Jan Prideaux. I live at 929 Williston. So my property faces Williston, and Allen Street goes along the west edge of my property, and then next to that is Williston Field. So I looked over the materials, but when you started talking retention pond, I was real surprised. I didn't see that. Is that shown on the diagram that we received?
It's a pretty narrow, just oval, kind of on like the west side of the houses, it looks like.
Okay, so
East side of the house.
East side of the house,
yeah,
the rear yard of
so
the house.
it parallels Allen Street at the back side of their properties, and it runs clear the whole length from Williston to the end of the north end of the field.
I think the applicant said about an 18-inch depression. So it's just a short depression that all of the runoff is designed to funnel towards there. And when the rainwater is faster than what the outlet will allow, it will detain it in that area
Cool a
for a
little
short
bit.
period of time until it can
But
then
it's not
run
going to look
away.
like a pond.
No.
No,
No.
No, it's just for when there's heavy rains, rapid per hour,
just to slow down the
Okay, now when you
runoff.
say 18-inch
deep at the most.
deep, okay, and how wide would that?
30 feet wide for it.
So, running down parallel to Allen. 30 feet wide, so it's a
It's the gentle
it's a
swale.
gradual dip.
Depression, yep.
Okay, and you said it can be mowed then, so they do, so, okay. So we don't gonna have a bunch of mosquitoes.
Right.
How long would it, if we got a really heavy rain, how long might it take to drain? Is it, and where is it draining into?
The storm sewer.
We'll have Jamie.
Okay. Okay.
Jamie Knutson, city engineer. Typically, these things are engineered so that they'll basically 24 hours, 24 to 36 hours, and it'll be drained out.
Okay.
And then it will go
And the
into,
storm sewer, drain into the storm sewer
yeah, it'll drain into the storm sewer in the city street on Allen.
on Allen?
Yes.
Is there a storm sewer there at
Yes.
this time?
Yes. And the idea is that we want them to hold a certain amount of water on their site so it doesn't overload the storm sewer in the streets.
Okay. So the storm sewer between Allen and 7th Street, I'm going to be able to see that along the curb there?
No, the storm sewer is under the road.
Are we talking flood control?
Dry run arch.
Pardon?
Is it just going into the dry run arch or is it?
Eventually it gets there, yes. It goes into dry run, eventually, yes, over by Liberty Park.
So you can see the intakes along the street curb. Those are the intakes and those feed. They're down.
That's what I'm saying. I don't recall there being any.
There might not be
intake.
on.
There might not be, yeah.
There might not be on Allen, but there's a storm sewer pipe that's buried underneath the road that goes through there. And it may not have any because there's probably no curbs maybe on some of those streets or alleys. So you might not see an intake.
And the detention pond will have a
Direct pipe.
direct pipe, an intake, and then the pipe will go under the ground to tie in with that storm sewer underground.
And that has nothing to, so along Allen Street, I think pretty much parallel to it, is the Dry Run Creek flood control. Big sewer. Okay. Is that going to be disturbed at all, that in order to, because it's just a big, like, is it culvert, is that what you call it? So that runs along, the back of most people's properties on Allen. Okay, my question is, in this construction, is that going to be will it tie into that? I mean, are you going to disrupt this big cement drain, or does that have nothing to do with the storm sewers?
It does, but they won't be getting into that, no. There's other pipes in the street that are smaller
Okay,
that they'll be tying into, and then
Okay.
those pipes eventually empty into dry
okay,
run
but
arch. But they won't be getting into the arch,
that
no.
itself
Yep.
will not be
Correct.
compromised?
Correct.
Okay, when you talk about these properties contributing to the problem, the only reason they're contributing to it is because of the way you are designing it. So you're kind of creating this issue, and then you're saying you need to take care of this. Right? And they're not choosing to do this. You're saying, we need to do this, but
I guess
if there's any problem,
this is Trader with staff. I'm not quite following you, but they're choosing to build homes, and the city code requires that new homes in most situations have stormwater management so that they don't negatively affect other developments around them.
the buyers are not choosing to build homes in this property.
Well, they'd be choosing to buy a home there.
Well, but I'm just saying you're creating an issue, and then you're saying, property owner, you got to take care of this.
I'm not familiar with what issue we're creating.
Well, you're having an HOA to take care of potential problems. Apparently, problems do arise.
I think what will ultimately happen is that the buyers will be fully informed of what parameters will be on their purchase, essentially. So when they are offered property to purchase, they'll be able to see a deed of dedication and see what kinds of constraints there are on the property, or what kind of maintenance is required, or what they're buying into, essentially, and purchasing. And so I think that's the key, is just to make sure that buyers are going in eyes wide open and understanding what their responsibilities will be. And that will be laid out in that deed of dedication, and that'll be really important to share with those buyers.
There was mention of when you have a private street that you have to take care of different issues outside of the city won't maintain it because it's a private street we were talking about. This is not a private street, but the city says we're not going to maintain that.
The detention pond.
Right.
Yeah.
The city will
Two
maintain the
sep- Yeah, we
street,
main the street,
but not the detention
not
pond.
the
Yes,
detention.
yes.
The detention's on their private property, for the most part. They are asking for an encroachment agreement to allow it to partially go into the right-of-way, but not the street. It doesn't impact the street at all.
Okay, so the east part of this property is on a floodplain. What, like, half the length of it is on a floodplain, or where is all of Williston Field a floodplain, or part of it?
The edges.
There's a map on that screen there, to your left.
Do I have that in?
I doubt it.
Page
Okay.
11 of the packet.
Yeah, but I think,
Okay.
well, I guess I'm not sure what she's looking at. But, so, there is, floodplain maps are prepared by FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency, and then have to be adopted and enforced by local jurisdictions to remain a participating member in the National Flood Insurance Program. FEMA updated maps in this area back in 2011. There was not previously a floodplain associated with the Dry Run Creek and the Dry Run Arch, but with the adoption of the new maps in 2011, there was a narrow band of floodplain that for the most part follows where the actual Dry Run Arch is, or some of the low street areas adjacent to that, in the event that there was a 100-year flood in the dry run arch, the arch would be, in theory, at full capacity because the arch is designed to carry the 100-year flood. But then any rainwater that the surrounding streets would get that naturally flows into the street stormwater collection system and then flows into the arch. If the arch is at capacity, they wouldn't be able to get there and would pond in those lower lying areas.
Right.
So it goes onto this property ever so slightly right there, kind of in the middle. Most of it is contained within the right-of-way of Allen Street, but it does go just a little bit, so a very minimal amount onto the middle lot there.
Will the property owners need to carry flood insurance?
No, because the homeowner would only need flood insurance if the floodplain hits their structure, the dwelling.
Okay.
And this will be nowhere near that.
Okay. Okay, I think that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else in the chambers here to speak on this agenda item? Please state your name and your address as well.
I'm Ron Welper. I live at 1120 West 8th Street. I'm probably the oldest, longest living resident around Williston Field. I've been there since 1976. Back in 93, I organized the neighborhood association. It wasn't something I planned. I just kind of backed into it. And I've been approached by the school system, how I felt about turning the green space into housing. And I said, well, I'm not the one to make that decision. I think we need to ask the neighborhood. They said, well, we aren't going to worry about that now. We're a long ways off from building any homes on it. Well, the time has come. We're here. When the neighborhood agreed to have homes built on the property, they said as long as the homes complemented the homes that were already there, they were fine with that. But as you probably read, or the gentleman read, that the Jim Ellis tried to build a ranch home, and that didn't fly. It didn't pass. The agreement was that the homes and structures had to be a story and a half or 2-story homes. So the only thing that we didn't discuss was how many homes. And so I was very surprised that we're only talking about 5 homes. When if you look around the neighborhood, there's 8 homes on each block. This one only has 5. I drove over to the Irving School where Allie had built those homes. You have what, 10 over there?
14.
Oh, 14 over there? Okay, I saw at least 8 on one block. So I guess I could see 5 homes maybe being close to a lake or maybe a big park or something. But this is in the center of the city. Seems to me we're losing tax revenue from this, as well as Hawkeye not being able to build 3 more additional homes. So I know I'm at the wrong meeting, but I at least wanted to share my concern that the number of houses, not the homes themselves. But so primarily that's the only reason I'm here today. So if you had any questions for me.
Jamie Knutson, city engineer. No questions for you, Ron, directly, but just so you know, when Jim platted this thing and they ran in the water and sewer, they ran in 5. Yes. And that was at the time what they wanted to do. We looked at trying to add 2 more. The problem is the sanitary's 25, 30 feet deep, and we would lose most of the street again to add 2 new sewer services. So that's the biggest reason why we aren't doing any more than the 5 that are planned right now. So
Okay,
that's the reasoning behind it.
Okay, because John Ruff was putting in the plumbing.
He did, yes.
I didn't realize that they were putting it under 7th Street, which
Yep.
was newly constructed.
Yep.
So to change it now would mean tearing up that street.
Yeah,
I would
we'd lose the whole street and
certainly hate to do that.
yeah.
But I know there were some things that I was on the Waterworks Board at the time that we had to change because he found some loopholes in how to bring
How to
some of
run
that
them
plumbing.
together, yep, to run them in the same trench as the sewer, as the sanitary, yep,
Yeah. So
exactly.
So anyway, it again, it's not up to me again. It's up to the neighborhood. I think we need to ask them how they feel about only having 5 homes on this 400-foot piece of property. But anyway, thank you for your time.
Anyone else here to speak on this agenda item? Okay.
My name is Ralph Longus. I live at 902 Williston, so I am directly across the street from Williston Field. Ron has been in the neighborhood longer than me, but we bought our property in '91, so we've been there a long time. Excuse me, summer cold. When we had the meeting some years ago with the former developer, I was somewhat vocal in my opposition in what their plan was, mainly because of their setbacks. At that time, their buildings were encroaching right on the edges of the setbacks. So the houses were only going to be 10 feet apart. And of course, that's legal. So I vehemently opposed that because and the way the designs were set up, you could be in the bathroom of one house and looking right in the bathroom of another house. So the design was not very well thought out. I will say that I will tell you, I am an industrial tech instructor, have been for this coming year, will be 44 years. The last 8, I have been teaching at Clarksville because I tried to retire after 33 years in Waterloo schools. And I am a Hawkeye instructor. I am a Hawkeye construction instructor. So I work with this gentleman and the whole Hawkeye staff as I teach the introductory class, excuse me, that a Hawkeye student would take. I teach that at the high school level. So I've been in all 3 of the houses on Newell with my students as those have been constructed, and I've been in the Johnson facility last fall when it was just in the framing stages. One thing I would like to state, what's different about this whole addition versus the gentleman that were trying to do it before, is these houses are all concrete. They are of the very highest construction quality. In fact, they surpass what the city and what most jurisdictions are requiring as far as insulation, construction techniques, etc. This is a great boon to our neighborhood. Now, I don't think Craig mentioned, but I do know one of the things they're trying to do is go after some international awards through World of Concrete. And they're feeling pretty good about what they've been doing so far. I think this would be a great, great addition to our little neck of the woods and hopefully bring some new families into our area. Having been through the houses that have been built, I know these 5 are being designed for net zero, which is, that's pretty enthusiastic. But I know the other houses I've been in, their energy bills, and you could correct me on this, are well under $100 a month. And at a time where we're all paying more, it's nice to know that these folks are able to build and save people money. I know that these homes are not, and no disrespect to Habitat for Humanity, they are not Habitat homes. These are using the latest technologies, the latest techniques in building construction, far and above what most builders are able to use. Partially, I'm sure, because their labor is free. Their labor is there to learn and then to pass that information on, which is making these homes quite affordable. So I'm a huge fan. If they are fortunate enough to move on and win some awards nationally or internationally through some of their ideas and construction techniques, I think that's just feather in Waterloo's hat. Again, I live right across the street, so I see the lot is very flat, so I understand the retention pond. Basically a low ditch. A lot of us have buildups around our house that slope off, and it's not that big a deal. So I'm not gonna. I don't know anything about the HOH or any of that stuff, but I am excited that they're looking at this. Initially, the plan was to go with 1.5 and 2-story houses. I will tell you that what I know of the construction world, to reach a net zero, it's very, very difficult to do that with a 2-story house. But if you've not been in any of the homes that they've done so far, which I would surely encourage you to do, these are completely finished, main floor, completely finished basements, egress, they're all set up. And with the addition of solar, whether the homeowner decides to use it or not, that's the wave of the future. And I just think it's exciting that it's happening in the middle of Waterloo and not way out on the edges. So thank you for your time. I hope things happen.
Is there anyone else on phone, by Zoom, or in the chambers here to speak on this agenda item? Okay. Thank you to everyone who spoke. Do we want to entertain a motion to close the hearing?
This is Trost. I'll move to close the hearing.
Second?
I'll second it, Surfling.
All those in favor, state aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the hearing is closed. Do we want to entertain a motion?
This is Trost. I'll make a motion to approve the request by Hawkeye Community College for a site plan amendment to the R1 RP Planned Residence District to allow for the construction of 5 new 1-story single-family homes at Williston Field located east of 1202 West 7th Street, and subject to the following conditions: that the final site plan would need to meet all applicable city codes, regulations, etc., including but not limited to parking, landscaping, screening, drainage, etc. The sidewalks be installed along street frontages within the development. Any significant changes to the plan would need to return for another site plan amendment. An encroachment agreement will need to be sent through the Planning Commission to cover the detention basin that will be in city-owned right-of-way, and the deed of dedication is updated. I'd like to amend the initial part to include item D1, the encroachment of the retention area or detention area, whatever it is outlined on the page 61 of our report, which is page 1 of 1, prepared by Robinson Engineering, showing the retention area as described as being 18 inches approximately in depth and 30 foot in width along the east portion of the development area.
Sounds good to me.
Do we need to add this part?
He said it in the
Oh, we did. Okay.
first part.
Do we have a second?
Second, Schoberg.
Leipzig, second.
Okay, any discussion amongst the commission?
Yes, this is Commissioner Leipzig. I happen to live not very far away from that area on Baltimore Street with Williston as a cross. And I do remember a few years back we had a pretty heavy rainfall and I watched Williston Avenue turn into a river. So the fact that we're putting a reasonable amount of homes into this lot while being conscious about flood control actually excites me. I think it's a good idea, and I think not only does that retention basin help those homeowners, but I think it helps that community as a whole.
Any other commissioners have any comments or discussion? Okay. All those in favor, state aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Thank you to everyone who spoke on this agenda item, and we will move on here. Okay, the time is 4:55 PM, and a hearing is scheduled at this time for a request by the City of Waterloo for a site plan amendment to allow construction of new canopies in the parking lot of the Waterloo Regional Airport in the M2P Planned Industrial District located at 2790 Livingston Lane on this is pages 26 through 40 on your packet. At this time, we should receive and place on file a statement of verification signed by Patty McGee stating, I, Patty McGee, do certify that all properties within 250 feet of the request are owned by the City of Waterloo. Could we have a motion to receive and place this notice on file?
So moved. Schoberg.
So moved.
Okay. Tricia, I'm going to put that you seconded that. Is that okay?
All right.
All right. All those in favor state aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion's carried. We'll have the staff report, please.
To start off with staff, the applicant is requesting a site plan amendment and special permit in order to construct canopies at the Waterloo Regional Airport parking lot. The request would not appear to have a negative impact on the surrounding area, and it would not appear to have an impact on traffic or vehicular pedestrian traffic in the area. The area in question is zoned M2P, Planned Industrial District, zone of such since March 13th, 1995. And surrounding land uses to the north is the airport terminal building and zoned M2P. To the south is vacant land zoned M2P. To the east is the FAA tower and other airport-related uses zoned M2P. And to the west is airport hangar zoned M2P. The applicant is requesting a site plan amendment and special permit to allow for construction of multiple canopies in the general parking lot of the Waterloo Regional Airport. The canopies will cover the two ticket machine entrance gates and the existing exit station over a portion of the existing parking spaces. The canopies over the parking spaces will cover 3 rows of parking closest to the existing airport terminal. There is a sanitary sewer line located adjacent to the exit station of the parking lot where the proposed canopy is, and they will need to work with engineering to their engineers and the city engineers will need to work on location to avoid that sewer line. Or it is also noted that tech review there is a water line that was used before public water lines were installed that could be in the parking lot, and Waterworks was willing to check on that. Also, the canopy over the secondary entrance that is part of phase 2 is considered a public road, but is not typical right of way, so it will need to be reviewed if an encroachment agreement will be constructed. Also, any of the plans will need stamp plans from the building department, and no parking spaces will be affected. Therefore, staff recommends that the request for a site plan amendment and special permit in the M2P Planned Manufacturing District allow for construction of airport parking canopies located at 2790 Livingston Lane be approved for the following reasons. The request is a purpose of the future land comprehensive plan and future land use map for the area. The request would not appear to have a negative impact on traffic conditions in the area with the following conditions. That the final site plan meets all applicable city codes regulations, including but not limited landscaping, drainage, setbacks, and etc.
Okay. Any questions? Any questions from commissioners on the phone? I see we have the director here. Did you want to address the commission?
Thanks and good afternoon to you all. Keith Caspar, Airport Director. Would be here just to try and answer any questions any of you may have in preparation for completing this segment of the agenda.
Anyone on Zoom or the phone? Okay.
I'll share with you that just yesterday we got the final and formal approval of the grant document from Iowa DOT. With that said, now our next charge, once this is completed, if it gets approved, is to work with AECOM or consulting engineer to dial up a proposed professional services agreement for project design and CRS services, which needs to go to Iowa DOT for their review before approval. And anticipating, summer, fall design, and hopefully spring 23 construction and completion sometime during the summer. My only concerns on this project is much like we're all facing today is cost of material and delays of delivery, timely delivery of material for overall construction.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you all.
Do we want to entertain a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Second, Schoberg.
Okay.
I'll second.
All those in favor of closing the public hearing, state aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the public hearing is closed. Do you want to entertain a motion?
This is Schoberg. I'll make the motion. Make a motion to approve the request for a site plan amendment in the M2P Planned Manufacturing District to allow for the construction of airport parking canopies located at 2790 Livingston Lane be approved for the following reasons. Request in conformance with the comprehensive land plan and future land use map for this area. The request do not appear to have a negative impact on the traffic condition in the area with the following condition. The final site plan meets all applicable city codes, regulations, etc., including but not limited to landscaping, drainage, and setbacks.
And the special permit?
Yeah,
And the
I
special.
was going to ask you about that.
Hold on.
Give him a minute.
And the special permit at the same address with the same condition that it meets all applicable city codes.
Okay, do we have a second?
Trost.
I will second that. Thank you for the effort.
Okay, now that we have a second, is there any discussion? Are there any comments by the commission?
I think it looks great. I think that anything that helps attract people to community Waterloo and flying out of the Waterloo Airport, as far as covered vehicle, protected vehicle parking for short-term, long-term parking is a great asset if we can achieve it.
I agree. And I appreciate you being here. You're always here to answer any questions on anything that comes before the commission, so I appreciate that.
I just think that this will hopefully be able to set us apart a little bit from our neighbors and give those users and parking lot a little bit of an enhanced level of, I'll say, customer service when they do decide to park their car, either for regular customers or even the handicap. Canopy LED lighting and those kinds of features. I look forward to having you folks come out when we commission and do a ribbon cutting on this parking lot.
Okay, here we go. All right, well, thank you. We will move on then. Oh, sorry. Jumping ahead. All those in favor, state aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, now we can move on. Thank you. All right, last item on the agenda is a request by Eric Gam for a minor plat of lot 52 of Summerland Farms to create two new developable lots located in the R3 RP Planned Multiple Residence District located west of 5508 Summerland Drive. And this is pages 51 through 59 of the packet. So we'll have the staff report, please.
This is blank with staff. The applicant is requesting to plat the property in question for the purpose of creating 2 new residential lots for a total of 3 lots. The request would not have a negative impact on the neighborhood as the area is composed of single-family and multifamily units. The site in question is zoned R3 RP Planned Residence District and has been zoned as such since it was rezoned from A1 Agricultural District on July 14th, 2003. The surrounding properties, zoning, and uses are as follows. To the north are duplexes, zoned R3 RP, and agricultural uses, zoned A1 Agricultural District. To the east is single-family homes, zoned to R3 RP, and Cedar Knoll Mobile Home Park, zoned R3 Multiple Residence District. To the south are single-family homes and zoned R3 RP Planned Residence District and R3 Multiple Residence District. And to the west is single-family homes and duplexes, zoned R3 RP, and agricultural uses, zoned A1. The plat is comprised of one lot approximately 10,018 square feet in size and another lot approximately 11,761 square feet in size for single-family homes. The minimum lot requirements for R3 Multiple Residence District is lot size of 6,000 square feet for single-family homes, lot width of 50 feet, and front, side, and rear setbacks of 20 feet, 5 feet, and 20 feet. The 2 lots exceed the minimum lot requirements for the R3 RP Residence District. The proposed lots would be split off from the existing lot, leaving a lot size of 0.29 acres for the existing home at 5508 Summerland Drive. At tech review, Schrader explained an individual spoke with him about placing duplexes on the lot, and he mentioned to them that a site plan amendment would be needed since the property is in a planned residence district. The parcel AA is approximately 95 feet by 130 feet with a lot size of 0.27 acres, and parcel AB is approximately 73 feet by 130 feet and is 0.23 acres in size. The subdivision ordinance requires that plat submissions include such criteria as boundaries of property, proposed streets, easements, and widths of right-of-way utility locations, as well as surrounding land uses. The plat does not contain all details required. However, given the minor nature of the split, the additional information would not appear to be needed as the plat is in accordance with the intent of the subdivision ordinance. Therefore, staff recommends that the request by Eric Game for a minor plat of lot 52 of Summerland Farms to create 2 new developable lots located in the R3 RP Planned Multiple Residence District located west of 5508 Summerland Drive be approved for the following reasons. The plat is in accordance with the intent of the subdivision ordinance and can be served by existing utilities. The plat is in accordance with the comprehensive plan, and the plat will create additional housing in the primary growth area.
Okay. Any initial questions by the commission?
This is Trost. So if it was mentioned during the tech review that an individual had mentioned placing duplexes on these lots, is it correct to say that if they choose to do that, they would have to come back through the commission to get approval because it's an RP, R3 zoned district?
That is correct.
That is correct, okay.
Yep.
So it's assumed that it's single-family homes unless they come back, unless it's something else, okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, this is Commissioner Leiftico. I'm just curious, would this have to go through a final plat even if no changes are made?
This is Schrader with staff. So when we have splits that are kind of minor in nature that aren't creating new roads new public easements. We have allowed them in the past to do a more simplified minor plat or plata survey type document that it's still run through the approval process the same as a preliminary and final plat are, but it's just that one document. So no, this would be the only thing that would be required. Other than if they propose duplexes, they'll have to come back through the site plan amendment approval process.
Excellent. Thank you.
This is Commissioner Wilbur. I'm sure this was addressed by staff, but I know generally that neighborhood has had issues with drainage and flooding. Do we see any impact with approving this in terms of impacting that negatively? Okay.
The city engineer is indicating no.
We should have had you sit over there today. Thank you. Any other questions by the commission? And I don't think we don't have anybody else on the phone or by Zoom, right? Nope. Okay. Do we want to entertain a motion?
This is Trost. I'll make a motion. Once I get to it here. Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve the request by Eric Gam for a minor plot of Lot 52 of Summerland Farms to create 2 new developable lots located in the R3 RP Plan Multiple Residence District, located west of 5508 Summerland Drive.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second that, Jocelyn.
Okay. Any discussion by the commission? Okay, all those in favor, state aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Does anyone have any other discussion items? If not, I'll take a moment he's not here, but to acknowledge him publicly. We thank Commissioner Holdeman for his time on the commission. This would have been his last meeting, so even though he's not here, we still thank you for your service. And he is not going far. He'll be on the Board of Adjustment, so best of luck.
Yes,
Thank you. So next meeting is August 9th. If we don't have any other matters, we have a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Schoberg.
Second.
Second, Lystico.
All those in favor, state aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.